Welcome back to the Circle of Kings podcast.
Welcome back to the Circle of Kings, man. First of all, I want to give a huge shout out to the strawweight BKFC champ, Britton Hart, man. Appreciate you stopping by and just opening up, giving us all the inside scoop on that. We're going to follow your career. We know you're unstoppable. So, I mean, we're going to see what happens. But I got a really, really big surprise for everybody in the Circle of Kings audience tonight. I'm about to bring you may know him from his 40-plus MMA fights over his career. You may know him from his 13 1-1 boxing career. You may know him from The Ultimate Fighter 4, where he got to the final with Matt Serra. You may know him from his 20-fight run with the UFC, known as an action bang fighter. You may know him as the voice of BKFC. We about to bring it on right here. My man, Chris Lights Out Lytle's in the building.
Man, thank you for having me. What a good intro. The only thing I got to correct you on there is, I had a lot more fights than that. You don't understand. Back in the day, they went back and they took off a bunch of 18 wins, man. I had a bunch of wins. They had my record down. I was like 1-0 in Japan. I was like, man, I was like 10-0 before they sent me there. So they went back and took off. Well, here's what it was. They went back and they go, all these fights were in unsanctioned states. They're like, yeah, there wasn't sanctioning states back then. So like, well, these are all off your record. So it's like, man, it was all my wins. They didn't take one loss off. It's complete. It's not cool, man.
Right. They didn't take one loss, but they took the wins, though.
Hey, but you know what? I couldn't care less what my record is on there. That's not important to me, man. I just like to fight.
So, hey, yeah, obviously, I'm going to say you ain't got to explain that to anybody that knows you, Chris. You love to fight, man. You love to bang. You one of the all-time bangers, okay? And my first recollection was I was a huge Tough fan back then. So, I mean, that whole era with y'all and the Clay Guida type fighters that would just go in and scrap. So I remember Matt Serra in that final being a straight up punk and just trying to lay down, wanting to stomp feet and lay down. Talk to us a little bit about that, man.
Man, I could not say anything negative about my dude, Matt Serra. When we were on that show together, Matt's just a good guy, man. He's a guy who, if somebody else was like being left out, he tried to include him in the conversation. Just a good dude, man. Always making jokes. I love that fight was just bad because it was so much on the line. The winner got like $250,000, a new car, a title shot with St. Pierre. The loser got like $10,000. So it's like neither one of us wanted to lose. So we just kind of fought a boring fight. And it was I lost a split decision. I said, I'll never do that again, no matter what. Like I did it once in my career to try to win, and it didn't happen. So I was like, I felt like I didn't get my title fight. I didn't fight the way I wanted to. I didn't fight the way I normally do. So I was like, never again. And I never did again. So I was happy with that.
So you're definitely known as an action fighter. And I always thought of you as like a dude that definitely did not fight. Like you didn't go to fight not to lose. Yeah, that's definitely, I seen it click in you a certain part of your career. You're like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going in there to fight. I don't care if I lose or not. And that was a big change.
That fight that did it. It was that fight that did it, man. After that, I said, man, I've lost bigger fights than this. Just come out and fight. I said, I got to knock you out or submit you. And I said, if it went the distance, I didn't do my job. That was my thought always. And man, what I learned is some people are just tough as hell. You could hit people really hard. You can knock them down. You might not knock them out, and they're hard to submit. So every time I usually went the distance, it was a fight of the night. So, hey, either way I won, you know what I mean? So people love the fight or I hurt somebody. So it was great.
Well, I want to stop right quick and do this. I know you're a career fireman. Big shout out to first responder. We're huge supporters of first responders here. And I know you're a career firefighter. So big ups to you, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Well, that was a tough thing. People didn't really realize. A lot of people was like myself. I know Stipe Miocic does the same thing, but everybody else is training full time. I got 4 kids trying to work in the fire department, man. It was
wow.
I had no life. People say, man, what do you do for fun? I was like, I'm doing it. I'm training. I'm working. I'm spending time with the kids. Like, do you like to go golf? I'm like, I don't play golf. Do you go hunting? I've never been hunting in my life. I don't do anything else besides that. That was all the time I had, and that was all I did.
So all you do is bang. I mean, so the 13 1-1 boxing, man. I mean, you won the Indiana light heavyweight championship at one point. Did you not? I mean, why didn't you pursue the boxing more?
Man, what's funny is I kind of was. Do you remember that show that was called, I think it was called The Contender. It had Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah.
Sylvester Stallone and
Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah.
The first season had Sugar Ray Leonard running with Sylvester Stallone. So and it was a 160-pound weight class. And I watched it. I was like, I like this. My boxing coach got me a tryout for season 2. And like I went right to the front of the line. They loved me because I had already fought in the UFC a bunch. And they're like, man, we want this guy to be part of it. And then they were telling me, here's what's up, Chris. We're either deciding between 168 or 147. So I was like, well, if you do 147, they're like, yeah, well, you can't do it. They ended up going with that weight class, 147. So had they went to 168, I would have been a boxer. You wouldn't even know me from the UFC. Besides, I probably would have done 5 fights there, but then I almost went boxing. But then when I got on the UFC, the Tough 4, they said, man, you sign that contract, you can't do boxing anymore. So that's why I was done.
So you were fighting super middle. They wanted to do the weight class, 2, 3, 4 weight classes below. So was it Sergio Martinez, I think, came out of that and had a great career from that Contender series, one of those series.
He was on the first season. Yes. I was trying to get him the second season. They were going to do 168 pounders or 147. Then with 147, I'm like, I'm way too big for that, man. I fight at 170.
So before we get on to, we're talking about I'm going to get into some future and present day. I do want to, while I got you, man, I'm a huge fan of you. So I do want to talk about a fight, the Marcus Davis fight, where you called him out. And then you said, I'll fight you in Ireland. And then you there's a rumor that you told him, hey, we're going to just stand up and bang. And y'all just stood up and bang. It was one of the most entertaining fights I ever saw.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of try to do that with everybody. Like I said, after that, Mike, I train a lot on the ground. I'm very skilled on the ground, but I was like, you ever see me try and take one person down? I never felt like anybody could knock me out, and I think I can knock anybody out. So I felt like if we stand and bang and throw hands, I'm going to beat you. You know what I mean? I know at one point he turned and ran from me, and I was chasing him. I felt like a little kid on the playground. I felt like a bully at first. But,
I know.
But yeah, that was a fun fight, man. And I knew it was a problem, though, because I remember at one point he kept throwing these kicks, and I'm blocking, and every time he's hit my arm, the crowd's going nuts like he's hit me in the face. And I remember one time I hit a left hook, bam, and he kind of went all funny. Crickets. You didn't hear no caring at all. So I was like,
well, you're in Ireland.
I know, but people think like the refs or the judges are all corrupt. I'm like, nah, man, they get influenced by the crowd. When the crowd goes nuts, they go nuts. And if crowd don't react, they don't react. So I understand it. It's just, I fought in Japan a lot. I've lost a lot of split decisions. Let me just tell you that I've lost like 5.
But you had a great record overall in combat sports. And that brings me to why I really wanted to have you on the show, because first of all, you were the first fighter, I think, to ever win the UFC fight of the night, submission of the night, and knockout of the night. The first fighter to win all 3 of those bonuses. But you also, being your background with boxing and mixed martial arts, and you had a successful 3-0 run at the beginning of this hype bare knuckle run. And I'm really big on this bare knuckle, and I want you to talk about how you feel that this bare knuckle explosion. I feel like it's exploding. It's the fastest growing combat sport in the world.
Man, I mean, it was funny. When I first heard of bare knuckle, I'm in my gym and somebody walks in, they go, hey man, there's on Facebook here, your buddy Joe Riggs fought bare knuckle. And I said, what in the hell's wrong with Joe Riggs? Why would he do bare knuckle? What is wrong with him? So I hit play on the the Facebook thing, and I'm watching. And about halfway through the fight, I looked over at the guy and I was like, how do I do this? Who do I talk to get involved? And the guy was like, man, you just said how stupid it was. I was like, I didn't know what it was. Now I know. I was like, I got to do one. So I got a hold of people in England, went and did one. And then I got a call from Nate Shook, said, hey man, we're legalizing this in the States. And I was like, I got to be involved with it, man. I didn't have my first bare knuckle fight until I was 43. I'd been retired from the UFC for 6 or 7 years, but I was like, I got to do it, man.
Wow.
Because I knew as soon as I watched it, I knew what the UFC and what boxing lacked anymore. And what it is those are not fights anymore. Those are athletic contests. You're an athlete. You're trying to win a contest. Bare knuckles a fight, and it's going to be a fight. The way they said the rules, 2-minute rounds, 5 of them, people are gassing it because they come to bang. That's a fist fight, man. We don't want people coming to try to win athletic contests, and that's why I love it. That's what makes it exciting to me, because it's missing in other sports. And I tell you what, man, you don't know how many people I say, hey, so are you a UFC fan or are you MMA fan? They go, what's the difference? Well, I go, well, do you watch PFL? No. Did you watch Bellator? No. You're a UFC fan.
Did you watch UFC
fans, when the fight hits the ground, they go, You're a bare knuckle fan and you don't even know it. You haven't seen us yet. Once you see us, you're gonna love us because we take all the action, all the good parts, and put it in one thing. You don't even watch MMA anymore. You're not gonna watch UFC once you start watching us. You're gonna be like, that's kind of boring. I agree. I think we're way more entertaining.
So I've been going to all the live last shows. I went to Salem. I went to Columbia. I'm going to Miami on December 8th to check the prospects out. And one thing, I've taken groups with me, and everyone that goes, it's the same thing. Man, that was exciting. It's everything you love about MMA. And a real, us that really know, MMA is MMA and UFC is UFC. The thing that drew me into UFC in the beginning was, let's see a Taekwondo guy or a Tai Sung Do guy go up against a boxer. That was the whole draw of it, was let's see who the ultimate fighter is. And now it's morphed into everybody fights the same way. And it's jiu-jitsu / some striking, nowhere near the level. And one thing I love about bare knuckle, especially BKFC, let's talk about that. Shout out to Tony, shout out to Junior, is the level of skill that these dudes, and they're not taking as much punishment. They're taking the least amount of punishment than anybody, I think.
Oh man, that's
you feel
why
like, what do you feel like they take less punishment?
Oh, 100%. Like I said, I didn't have my first fight until I was 43. I didn't want to come out there and get banged up and my melon messed up where I can't talk right. I got to commentate. I can talk well. So I had to talk to my wife and family like, hey, you don't understand. You don't take the damage you do in boxing. I love boxing. I had 15 fights. You get more damage in boxing than anything, man. I mean, you're taking 20 punches around to the head. You have that skull, the brain's hitting the skull. That's not good. That's how people have problems. All my favorite boxers have brain damage. All of them.
We've all seen the CompuBox numbers, Chris, and Cass getting hit 390 times in a fight. That's bare knuckle. If you get hit 5 times in the first round, you're probably asleep. You're definitely cut.
You're definitely cut. Exactly. I mean, so that's my point. And it's not just a fight, it's a training camp. You have to adjust your training to train like you're going to do a bare knuckle fight. You can't get hit. You have to change. So I took so much less damage in training, so much less damage in the fight. That's why I want these older fighters like MMA guys. They're going to see, Francis Ngannou. They're going to see Conor McGregor be like, oh, boxing. You're going to go out there and get wrecked, and you're not going to be able to talk properly when you're older. Like I said, all my favorite boxers are brain damage. Listen to any older fighter, and they don't talk well, and it's sad, and I don't want to see people go through that.
No, and definitely I could see, they're going to, it's the bang, it's the action. Everybody wants to come see the banging. That's what everyone loves about what they say MMA. They hate it when they fall on the ground. They lack the technical skill to follow that. They're not purple belts. They don't know what's going on, but they do when they come watch these guys bang. And I see a huge explosion of this sport happening. And some of the exciting fighters that right now I feel like Britain Hart, she definitely is exciting. Strawweight, not only can she box and got speed, she's 7-1 in her last 8 fights since she went to her weight class. She's beautiful, you know what I'm saying, tatted up. And Lorenzo Juggernaut Hunt, I think he's the most exciting man in combat sports right now.
Man, when it comes to Bret Hart, nothing but proud of that girl. She came in on the B side. They brought her in to lose. You don't see many people ever make it from B side to A side, and she did it. That's so impressive. So good. Hats off to her. Lorenzo, man, he's an entertainer, and the dude's proven time and time again. I mean, he gets it. He knows. We've had guys like him who didn't have success in other combat sports because, you know what, I'm going to take this and make this my sport, and he has all the attributes. The dude's unstoppable right now. He gets in there, he leads like hard combinations. He can knock you out with one punch. He's phenomenal.
And he can take one. So the most amazing fight, I mean, the thing I met about a year ago, I saw it, I forget the dude.
Mike Richmond.
The Mike Richmond fight, exactly. When he caught that and he's down, and that was a beautiful shot that Richmond landed. He gets up, Richmond's coming in and lands the most perfect hook you've ever seen in your life. And I was a fan for life right then. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, that was perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the fight was over, man. And me and Sean Wheelock, the other commentator, all we talk about is I love it when someone gets up off the canvas to win. You would not believe how many fighters we have do that here. I mean, tons of time. We've had fighters, both of them get knocked down the same round. I'm like, somebody's getting off the canvas to win because it's just a tough difference. Like, you have to be a dog to win in this sport. You got to be a tough. I don't care your skill level. You got to be a tough. You got to be the hammer and the nail sometimes because you're going to get hit. And you just real technical, real good. Somebody's gonna eat your lunch. That's what I love about this sport. To be great at this, you gotta be a good hammer, good nail, a dog, be tough but be skilled. You gotta have it all. It's beautiful.
I've seen a high level of skill, especially with the feints. And like I said, there's a lot of marketable. Redneck Mundell, he's very marketable. Had a great fight last weekend. Reggie Barnett, who lost, was the #1 pound for pound fighter in BKFC and really got walked through in Colombia. So I mean, but there's lots of young. I just see just a wealth of stars in the making.
Man, like Bryce Henry, that guy is so good, so talented. I mean, he's going to be a prop for everybody. 165 pounds. I'll see who's going to. I mean, nobody's been able to touch him yet. So he just keeps getting better and better. The more comfortable he gets out there, we got a lot of, that's what I love about this sport is, 4 years ago it was everybody coming over from NBA, the UFC or MMA or boxing. Now we get people who their goal is to become a bare knuckle fighter. Like that was what's blown me away. I'm doing these trials and people are like, nah, do you do MMA? Nope. Do you do boxing? No, I'm a bare knuckle. I'm like, we're starting to come along. You're starting to become a real thing when people set out to do. I mean, hell, that's back in the UFC back in the day, in like 2000. Everybody was a wrestler, a kickboxer. They were still separate. It wasn't until a little after that.
That's right.
Everybody started doing everything, and hell, we're already there for bare knuckle, and it's only been a couple of years. It's amazing how fast we're growing.
Honestly, the last one I can even remember being described as any was Lyoto Machida, the karate fighter. I mean, yeah, but everybody just morphed into one thing, and now it's just MMA fights. But I will say also, while we're on this BKFC, of course, there's, you got Ken Shamrock starting his new league. You got BYB with the triangle ring. So you do have, but I'm just saying, when someone sees it, that's what and you can't beat BKFC's model. You got an app that's $7.99 a month. You get sometimes two or three pay-per-views a month. You get a ton of content when it'll cost you $300 a month to do that with UFC. And now I see they got a partnership with Freevee. They're on Amazon. So,
man, that's what I keep telling people. I'm like, you can get us for the whole year for the price of one UFC. And hey, man, I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer, man. Economic times are getting tough. Inflation's going up everywhere. People are going to have to start making choices. I'm a firm believer. Hey, man, we can get us for the whole year for the price of one UFC, and we're putting on 2 fights a month. Chris, at least it's a no-brainer.
And Chris, this ain't tough man contest. That's why I have to explain to people. There's a lot of skill. This is very skilled fighters in this ring.
I love it. In the last fight we put on, 10 fights, 9 stoppages. I mean, we've never had somebody say.
You know what I'm saying? What?
We've never had anybody say, Chris, there's too many knockouts last night. I didn't like it. Nobody's ever said that. Nobody ever will say it. They want more knockouts. Nobody wants decisions, man.
Absolutely. You want to have a good night out. When the BKFC is coming to an area near you, make sure you get over there. And the venues you guys are filling up now are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can see that.
Man, Utah's going to be crazy. We're probably going to get 8,000, maybe 10,000. Who knows what we're going to get? But, man, I mean, we've had some huge stadiums, and they're full. It's amazing to me. I can't believe how fast we're coming so quickly.
Well, man, I'm going to tell you what, Chris. I appreciate you coming to give us our time, man. I really appreciate you. I've always been a fan of you. You had a great career. Chris Lights Out Lytle, man, is on the Circle of Kings, man. Thank you so much. And, of course, I'll see you in the event because we're heavy into the BKFC, the bare knuckle. We're all in with it.
That's what I want to hear, man, because I am too. Like I said, I love MMA. I was at my life boxing for a while, but I mean, this is what's up, man. I mean, anything, I just do it because I love it. I love the excitement. I love how fast paced it is. It's a real fight. And that's when I got involved with all this stuff. It was real fighting. And I think it's the only thing that's real fighting anymore. And that's why I love it.
Well, you definitely an old school fighter, man. I mean, like you said, father of 4, firefighter. And by the way, that's why they didn't want to stand with you, man. You're 13-1 in boxing. Nobody wants to stand with you. They barely can box, and they're trying to get on there and shoot. They want to shoot. But hey, you're a friend of the show now, man, and we hope to be able to call on you in the future and definitely give us updates on these BKFCs as they come and go.
Hey, man, anytime you want to talk, I'm here. You let me know, man. This is awesome.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Chris. Have a great night, man. Big ups.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, so Circle of Kings, man. There you have it, man. Chris Lights Out Lytle, ultimate legend, scrapping and rapping, man. This dude is one of the all-time bangers in MMA, period. Like you said, We think he had 45, 50 fights. He got fights all over the world. So definitely stay tuned to BKFC. And like you said, Utah's going to be bananas. BK, yo, big ups. Chris, lights out Lytle right here on the Circle of Kings.